Hello, everyone. So today we are in my kitchen. It is the morning time, and we are going to be baking a cake. Not just any cake, but something called Thunder Cake, based on a book that we will be reading today. It's a recipe I've wanted to try for a long time because it has a lot of ingredients. I never have gotten around to it. And today I'm going to try and see what Thunder Cake tastes like. One of the ingredients in Thunder Cake is 3 eggs, but the eggs must be separated. I've got the 3 yolks in here and the whites in there, and I'm to beat the whites until they are stiff. On high speed, here we go. Right now, these whites are what we call soft peak. When I do this, the tips bend over a little bit, so it needs to be beat just a little bit more. There. Now they make points that mostly stand up. Now I have to fold in these yolks. When they say fold in, they mean like this. See how I'm kind of folding it? Isn't that a pretty color? This part's really fun. There we go. You can see that this recipe has a lot of ingredients in it. Shortening, sugar, vanilla, eggs, water, pureed tomatoes, cake flour, cocoa, baking powder, baking soda, that's important to know the difference, and salt. And I was really interested. A cake with tomato and chocolate? What's that going to taste like? I put the dry mixture together and the creamy mixture together, and then I put the dry mixture into the creamy mixture. This is going to be a lot of fun. Okay, let's put all of the creamy ingredients together in this big Pyrex bowl. First, we put in 1 cup of shortening. I use butter flavored shortening, and it came pre-measured in this 1 cup amount. Very convenient. A lot like butter, doesn't it? It says it needs 1 3/4 cup sugar. Here's the sugar. It says it needs a teaspoon of vanilla. Vanilla is a flavoring that'll make it taste good. The 3 eggs that I separated and put back together need to go in. You know what? Because of what I know about cooking, I'm going to cream this before I add the eggs. So I'm going to put it on the mixer. The first thing I have to do is put this mixing attachment on the mixer. A little bit. There we go. There, make sure it's on there solidly and strongly. Then I lock it. That's low speed. It looks like the stick of Crisco is stuck to it. fast and things come flying out of the bowl. This is a good speed. It's going to cream it all together. There we go, all creamed. Now I'm going to add the eggs. Here they are, all floofy. So far, this looks buttery and yellow. Doesn't that look interesting? So far, it's making me hungry. I'm still wondering about that tomato and chocolate mixture, though. Have you ever eaten tomatoes and chocolate together? I have not. This will be a first time for me. Now it wants me to put in a cup of cold water. I have one right here. Also wants me to put in 1/3 cup pureed tomato. This is some fresh tomato that I pureed in my Magic Bullet blender. In it goes. These are all of the wet ingredients. Let's mix them together with my big spatula. Okay. I think we're ready to do the dry ingredients now. It says I must sift together the dry ingredients. This is my favorite way to sift, with a sieve and a big bowl. The first thing that goes in is 2 1/2 cups of flour. Here it is. Now, you know, this is all-purpose flour. The recipe actually calls for cake flour, but I don't have any. So it's kind of a science experiment because I'm wondering, my big question is, how will regular all-purpose flour change the texture of the cake? I don't have any cake flour to see the difference, but because I already know, my pre-knowledge is that this kind of flour has more protein in it, so it'll make the cake denser and chewier. So my prediction, my hypothesis, is that this Thunder Cake is going to have kind of a muffin texture to it, and hopefully a good flavor. Okay, the next dry ingredient that I need to put in there is 1/2 cup of dry cocoa. Here's dry cocoa. It's chocolate, but it's not sweetened, so it's very bitter. But there's already a lot of sugar in this cake, so I know the cake's going to be sweet. 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking soda. This white powder is part of what makes the cake fluffy. And I need 1 teaspoon of salt. This helps the baking soda work better and makes the cake taste better. Now to sift, I just take something and tap, tap, tap. Does that sound like music? Can you dance while I'm doing this? It's almost done. Who knew we would have some rhythm in our cooking? Now I need to add these dry ingredients to these creamed ones. a little bit. That's all right, because we can always clean up. We can always clean up a mess. Now I know that if I run this on high speed, that flour mixture is going to go everywhere. So I have to start out at a very slow speed. There we go. Now you can see a little better what's happening in that bowl. Clean up a little bit of that spilled cocoa powder. There we go. I'm going to turn up the speed a little bit. Ooh, it goes faster. Then I stop. Ooh. It smells very good. It smells like a tasty chocolate cake batter. Mmm. Okay. I've got 2 pans with grease and flour in the bottom. Some Crisco and some flour in the bottom. And we need to put the batter into both of those pans, preferably equally. Just scrape off some of the extra batter here off this mixer part. Do you ever get to lick the spoon or the beaters when someone's making a cake or something like that at your house? What does it taste like when you get to do that? It's a little bit like cocoa powder and raw eggs. So, here we go. Let's put our batter in. I'm trying to make it the same amount in each cake pan. What do you think? Do you think these look the same or equal? It looks to me like this one has less and this one has more. So I need to put some of this into that one. Sometimes it's hard to tell until you spread it out a little bit. I still think I can put a little more. What do you think? A little bit more. I'm to spread this around so it's even. All right. That looks pretty good. It's time to put those cakes into the oven to bake for a little while. Use a pair of oven mitts so I don't burn my hands. This is also something an adult has to help with, though. All right. The oven's been heating up, so it's already the right temperature, which is 350 degrees. Okay. Now we get to just wait for a while. Okay, that cake's got to bake for a while. So now it's time for me to read to you. I've got a word puzzle ready for us. I don't know if you can hear the sound of the fan in the background. The oven has a fan on right now. Let's switch cameras. All righty, what word do we have today? Can you guess this word before I have all the letters put in? We have a bus, We have another monkey, another elephant. What could this word be? R for red. If I put C for crayon, it's going to say Beck. I don't think that's, I think it might be R for red. U for umbrella. N for nest. Our word is number. I told you there was a book that inspired the baking of this cake because it had a recipe in it. This is the book, Thunder Cake by Patricia Polacco. Thunder Cake. For my babushka, Carle, with love. Babushka is a word for a grandmother. On sultry summer days at my grandma's farm in Michigan, the air gets damp and heavy. Storm clouds drift low over the fields and birds fly close to the ground. The clouds glow for an instant with a sharp, crackling light. Then a roaring, low, tumbling sound of thunder makes the windows shudder in their panes. The sound used to scare me when I was little. I loved to go to Grandma's house. Babushka, as I used to call my grandma, had come from Russia years before. But I feared Michigan's summer storms. I feared the sound of thunder more than anything. I always hid under the bed when the storm moved near the farmhouse. This is the story of how my grandma, my babushka, helped me overcome my fear of thunderstorms. Grandma looked at the horizon, drew a deep breath, and said, "This is thunder cake, bacon weather, all right. Looks like a storm coming to me." "Child, you come out from under that bed. It's only thunder you're hearing," my grandma said. The air was hot, heavy, and damp. A loud clap of thunder shook the house, rattled the windows, and made me grab her close. "Steady, child," she cooed. "Unless you let go of me, we won't be able to make a thunder cake today." Thunder cake?" I stammered as I hugged her even closer. "Don't pay attention to that old thunder, except to see how close the storm is getting. When you see lightning, start counting real slow. When you hear the thunder, stop counting. That number is how many miles away the storm is. Understand?" she asked. "We need to know how far away the storm is so we have time to make the cake and get it into the oven before the storm comes, or it won't be a real thunder cake." Her eyes surveyed the black clouds away off in the distance. Then she strode into the kitchen. Her worn hands pulled a thick book from the shelf above the wood stove. "Let's find that recipe, child," she crowed as she lovingly fingered the grease-stained pages to a creased spot. "Here it is, thunder cake." She carefully penned the ingredients on a piece of notepaper. "Now, let's gather all the things we need," she exclaimed as she scurried towards the back door. We were by the barn door when a huge bolt of lightning flashed. I started counting like Grandma told me to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then the thunder roared. 10 miles. It's 10 miles away, Grandma said as she looked at the sky. About an hour away, I'd say. You'll have to hurry, child. Gather them eggs careful like, she said. eggs from mean old Nellie Peck Hen. I was scared. I knew she would try to peck me. I'm here. She won't hurt you. Just go get them eggs, Grandma said softly. The lightning flashed again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I counted. 9 miles, Grandma reminded me. Milk was next. Milk from old Kick Cow. As Grandma milked her, Kick Cow turned and looked mean right at me. I was scared. She looked so big. Zip with the lightning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I counted. Went the thunder. 8 miles, child, Grandma croaked. Now we have to get chocolate and sugar and flour from the dry shed. I was scared as we walked down the path from the farmhouse through tangleweed woods to the dry shed. Suddenly the lightning slit the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I counted. Boom, boom, crashed the thunder. It scared me a lot, but I kept walking with Grandma. Another jagged edge of lightning flashed as I crept into the dry shed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I counted. Boom, kaboom, the thunder bellowed. It was dark and I was scared. I'm here, child, Grandma said softly from the doorway. Hurry now, we haven't got much time. We've got everything but the secret ingredient. Three overripe tomatoes and some strawberries, Grandma whispered as she squinted at the list. I climbed up high on the trellis. The ground looked a long way down. I was scared. I'm here, child, she said. Her voice was steady and soft. You won't fall. I reached 3 luscious tomatoes while she picked strawberries. Lightning again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I counted. Kabang! Boom! The thunder growled. We hurried back to the house in the warm kitchen, and we measured the ingredients. I poured them into the mixing bowl while Grandma mixed. I churned butter for the frosting and melted chocolate. Finally, we poured the batter into the cake pans and put them in the oven together. Lightning lit the kitchen. I only counted to 3, and the thunder rumbled and crashed. 3 miles away, Grandma said, and the cake is in the oven. We made it, a real thunder cake. As we waited for the cake, Grandma looked out the window for a long time. Why, you aren't afraid of thunder. You're too brave, she said as she looked right at me. I'm not brave, Grandma, I said. I was under the bed, remember? But you got out from under it, she answered. And you got eggs from mean old Nellie Peck Hen. You got milk from old Kick Cow. You went through tangleweed woods to the dry shed. You climbed the trellis in the barnyard. Where I sit, only a very brave person could have done all them things. I thought and I thought as the storm rumbled closer. She was right. I was brave. Brave people can't be afraid of a sound, child, she said as we spread out the tablecloth and set the table. When we were done, we hurried into the kitchen to take the cake out of the oven. After the cake had cooled, we frosted it. Just before
For just then the lightning flashed, and this time it lit the whole sky. Even before the last flash had faded, the thunder roared, boomed, crashed, and boomed above us. The storm was here. Perfect, Grandma cooed. Just perfect. She beamed as she added the last strawberry to the glistening chocolate frosting on top of our thunder cake. As rain poured down on our roof, and Grandma cut a wedge for each of us, she poured us steaming cups of tea from the samovar. When the thunder roared above us so hard it shook the windows and rattled the dishes in the cupboards, we just smiled and ate our thunder cake. From that time on, I never feared the voice of thunder again. Here they are, and there's that recipe we made. Our cake won't be a real thunder cake, I'm afraid, because it isn't even raining, much less storming outside today. But we still have some time before the cake is done, and it'll still have to cool before I can frost it. So I guess that means I have to read another book. I've got another one about making cakes. This one is called Bunny Cakes. Bunny Cakes. Pictures and story by Rosemary Wells. This is a book about Max and Ruby. Have you seen them in a book before? Bunny Cakes. It was Grandma's birthday. Max made her an earthworm birthday cake. No, Max, said Max's sister Ruby. We are going to make Grandma an angel surprise cake with raspberry fluff icing. Max wanted to help. Don't touch anything, Max, said Ruby. Do you see Ruby has a mixer kind of like mine? Her beaters look a little different. But it was too late. Ruby sent Max to the store with a list that said, eggs. Look what happened to the eggs. Oh dear. Max wanted red hot marshmallow squirters for his earthworm cake, so he wrote red hot marshmallow squirters on the list. Do you see where he wrote? The grocer could not read Max's writing. Eggs, said the grocer, and he gave Max eggs. Max brought the eggs home to Ruby. Don't bump the table, Max, said Ruby. But it was too late. Ruby sent Max back to the store with a list that said, milk. This time, Max wrote red hot marshmallow squirters in a different way. Max hoped and hoped for his squirters, but the grocer still couldn't read Max's writing. Milk, said the grocer, and he gave Max milk. Max brought the milk home to Ruby. There's a yellow line on the floor, Max, said Ruby. You can't step over that line. But Max crossed the line anyway. Over went the flour. Ruby got out her pencil. Flour. This time, Max wrote red hot marshmallow squirters in the most beautiful writing he knew. Max could almost taste the marshmallow squirters. Flour, said the grocer, and he gave Max flour. When Max got home, there was a sign on the kitchen door. "Max, the kitchen is no place for you," said Ruby. Here's the sign. Ruby finished up her cake. You see who's in the window? She baked it and cooled it and iced it with raspberry fluff frosting. "It needs something else, Max," said Ruby. "Birthday candles, silver stars, sugar hearts, buttercream roses," wrote Ruby. Meanwhile, Max had a brand new idea. He drew a picture of red-hot marshmallow squirters on Ruby's list and ran to the grocer. He could not wait. Birthday candles, silver stars, sugar hearts, buttercream roses. How did Max show the grocer he wanted red hot squirters, marshmallow squirters? He drew them. Let's see if it works. Birthday candles, silver stars, sugar hearts, buttercream roses, said the grocer. What's this? Oh, why, it must be red hot marshmallow squirters. Ruby's cake looked just beautiful. Max went out and put caterpillar icing on his earthworm cake. Grandma was so thrilled. She didn't know which cake to eat first. The end. It says, will Grandma get to have her cake and eat it too? It's time to check and see if the cakes are ready yet. It's back on. One. Here's two. The way to check if they are done cooking is to take a knife or a toothpick very carefully, pop it into the center and pull it out. And if it is clean, that means they're done. It looks like our cakes are ready to cool. I'll pause the video while they're cooling so that you can see me frost them. Possibly my favorite part of baking cake is frosting it. This is the bottom section of the cake, and I cut off some of it to make it nice and level, and I'm going to put some of this chocolate frosting on there. Went ahead and just bought some chocolate frosting to put on. Start with a glop in the middle. Now this filling is going to have a lot of crumbs on it. But it doesn't matter because this part we're not going to see. We're just going to eat it. I spread it around. So there's a chocolate layer in there. You see how the cake's kind of falling apart a little bit? Well, it's cool, but it's not cool. And really, if you want your cake to not get mixed up with the crumbles, you want to let it cool longer, but I want chocolate cake now. So it's okay if it's a little messy. All right, there's that messy middle layer. And plop, here goes the top layer. Now this one doesn't have a lot of crumbs, so it won't smear so much. Chocolate frosting. Is there anything better than chocolate frosting? Right now, I don't think so. I'm mostly going to put it on the top and just let it ooze down the sides a little bit. I might be able to get the sides. I still have some left in here. Okay. More chocolate frosting is good. Yummy. I have to push it around carefully with a knife so that I don't break the cake. I push it out to the edges.
And then I can just sort of mush it on the sides. Have you ever frosted a cake? It can be a lot of fun. What did you think of how the grandma in our story, Thunder Cake, helped her granddaughter to stay calm? Did you notice that she helped her stay calm by letting her help out and do things? And did you see how that helped her feel like she was brave and able to help out, do things about what was going on? It always feels so good when someone lets you take care of something and do an important job, doesn't it? All right. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is add some delicious strawberries to the top. I have some strawberries I froze from earlier this week, just so I could add them to this cake. Did you see I made a pattern there? Light, dark, light, dark. Let's get lots of strawberries on there. Did you ever count during a thunderstorm like the girl in the story did? See how close the storm is? That's looking pretty good, I think. I think I'm going to call that finished. What a treat. Of course, you know what I have to do next. Oh, yes. The sound of a cake server coming out. Let's cut into this cake. Here we go. I need a plate. Here's a little dish. Look at that. Chocolate cake, chocolate frosting, strawberries. Yum, yum, yum. I've decided definitely the best part of making a cake is getting to taste it. I'm gonna get a little bit of cake, strawberry, and frosting together. That is a very tasty chocolate cake. Yummy. Well, I wonder if you'll try making a cake with tomatoes and chocolate in it. It doesn't taste like a tomato. Very good. I recommend you definitely try this cake. Hope to see you next week when we start on a completely different adventure. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.